Does milk help your children grow taller? It makes the case that a maximum height is predetermined by genetics, and that the best any person can do is to reach that height. In other words, you can't game your genes. To answer that question, we have to first figure out which variables are responsible for height. Genetics is a big part of it. Most of the variation in height is due to whatever genes you inherited, says Wiley. The other factors are pretty basic: getting enough to eat as a child, and avoiding any infectious disease that might impede growth. Some diseases, ranging from worms to chronic respiratory disease, can stunt growth because the body devotes all its energy to staving off the infection instead of growing, which can have a permanently impact on height. Milk also contains a protein called insulin-like growth factor 1, better known as IGF-1, a protein that the human body naturally produces. What's more interesting about IGF-1 in milk is that studies indicate that people who drink milk have higher levels of IGF-1 in their bloodstream, possibly indicating that something about milk triggers those who drink milk to produce more of this protein. IGF-1 triggers growth overall. It tells cells of all sorts, be they bone or tissue or blood, to divide and duplicate. That can sometimes be a bad thing, as for cells you might not want the body to reproduce, think cancer. But certainly IGF-1 is a major contributor to a person's vertical growth, and IGF-1 supplements are used to treat kids with height disorders. On the other hand, remember the thing about potential height. My sense is you can only grow to your genetic potential for height, says Wiley. I don't think you can take extra IGF-1 even if you're growing really well and expect to grow even more. What are the benefits of milk? This is not to say that milk is useless nutritionally. In fact, quite the opposite. There's no question that milk is very rich in calories, rich in protein, has a bunch of vitamins and minerals in it, says Wiley. It's a very nutritious food. If it's part of the diet, it certainly is contributing to a child's nutrition. Milk also, thanks to huge subsidies from the US government, is an exceedingly cheap source of that protein, fat, calories, vitamins, and minerals, which is certainly a good thing for childhood nutrition. But research hasn't, at least yet, indicated that milk has any mystical powers beyond being a pretty nutritious and inexpensive food. That's partly because the research is extremely basic and often obviously flawed. Some studies I read don't bother controlling for parental height, the single biggest variable in deciding a child's height, which is insane. Thanks to huge subsidies from the US government, milk is an exceedingly cheap source of that protein, fat, calories, vitamins, and minerals, which is certainly a good thing for childhood nutrition. The work on this does not necessarily add up to a very clear picture, says Wiley. Here really isn't a huge amount of science. The lack of clear science is also due to the basic truth that figuring out the effect of milk on a child's growth is a seriously difficult proposition. It would take a large sample size, studied over a period of decades, and you'd have to control for about 1 million variables, ranging from genetics to socioeconomic status to activity levels to the rest of a person's diet. Because people have always assumed that milk will make you grow, there have been very few well-controlled studies that control for the fact that when you drink milk, you're also just getting calories or fats or protein, says Wiley. Nobody's super interested in funding that kind of study, least of all the dairy industry, which understandably would not be all that keen to fund a study proving its ads are false. As best as the current science can answer it, no, milk doesn't make you grow taller, simply because, well, nothing can make you grow taller. But milk can be a useful tool to help kids grow to their potential height. Not essential, provided you replace a non-milk drinker's milk with an adequate amount of the necessary calories and vitamins. But useful. Thank you for watching video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share with your friends. For more recipes and tips, subscribe to the channel.